All right, welcome back to part two, everybody. APO and PTL throwing down on some ribs. So part one was yesterday. Don't need to explain that. You've seen it already. So here's what we're doing part two today. So we've taken the ribs out of the plastic wrap. I've rinsed these and dried them off. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to apply a rub and we're going to go into the smoker with the ribs. So when I apply my rub, I like to put mustard as in a binding agent to make the rub stick. You can use olive oil as well, but I just personally like mustard. This isn't going to add any flavor to the ribs or anything like this. It's just a binding agent. So we're just going to put a nice little slather of mustard on the back side of the ribs. Now, similar to salting, the back side of the ribs doesn't need a ton of the rub mixture. We want most of the rub mixture to go on the top where the meat is. So we'll go light application of rub on this backside to get started. So the other thing I'll point out as I rinse my hands off here, one thing I did was this morning I remembered I have one of these big plastic bulk seasoning containers. So I added all the dry rub to this. And the reason why I do that is these have a nice shaker top on them. So this just makes it easier to control the rub coming out. You can still do the mason jar if you want, but if you have one of these, it's really nice because it has those holes, makes spreading the rub out a little easier. So we're just going to do a light application, go down the back of the ribs. We're not trying to get like a thick bark or anything like that. That's going to be on the top. So we just want to lightly season that. And then the other thing I want to do real quick is I just want to take from the center here and get a little rub on the side of my ribs as well too. And then we'll just pat that in, lightly pat it in. Don't need to like rub it around or anything like that. Just lightly pat that in. Well, let's make sure we get this side here too. All right, perfect. So we'll flip these over now. Rinse our hands.
Wash your hands again.
Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing to the top of ribs. Just a nice little slather of mustard. Don't need a lot, just a little bit for a thin coating. Just rub that in. It's like finger painting with mustard. Finger painting for dads. All right, I'll rinse my hands again.
Or moms for that matter.
Or moms for that matter. Absolutely. Disclaimer, finger painting with mustard can be for moms or dads or anyone. All right. I like that. Okay. So now that we're on the meatier side, we're going to go a little heavier with the rub this time. The reason why is we want to get that nice bark on top of our ribs. So what is a bark? So as you recall, there is a lot of sugar in my dry rub. And what that sugar is going to do as it smokes and cooks down with these ribs is it's going to caramelize and it's going to bind up all the paprika and garlic and onion powder and black pepper and ginger and form this like crust. Like you ever had like a steak or a burger that's been seared really well and it's got kind of that crunchy outside to it? That's called a crust. And I like the thing with Memphis ribs is that crust is like the hallmark, like the key thing that you want to have. Versus, having a barbecue sauce that you would put on at the end, which you can do with some ribs. The way you cook them, you put barbecue sauce on it like the last 30 minutes, maybe grill them, or just let that barbecue sauce simmer down a little bit on the ribs. So just making sure we get all of our surfaces coated. Perfect. All right, we're set to go on to the ribs. So just 1 second here. We're gonna go outside. We'll put these on the smoker and be good to go. All right, we're outside at the smoker now. I have a wood pellet smoker. This is what I like to use. You can use whatever you want. The main thing is your temperature. I have mine set at 225. It's dropping right now because the lid's up. You can cook anywhere between 200 and 275 if you want. But we're just gonna go ahead and take the ribs and set these right on the grill grate. Now, for the 3-2-1 method, let's talk about that a little bit. So while these are on the grill, these are gonna smoke for 2 hours. Then I'm gonna show you guys how to do the Texas Crutch, and we're gonna crutch them by wrapping them in aluminum foil with a little bit of liquid and seasoning, and let them cook for another 2 hours. And then at the end, we're gonna take them out of the wrap and we're gonna put them back on the smoker for another 2 hours. So sometimes you hear of it as a 3-2-1, 3 hours of smoking, 2 hours of being crutched, and then 1 hour of out of the foil and back forming the bark up again. I like to do a 2-2-2. So, all right, we'll check back with you here in a couple hours. All right, hey, welcome back. Part 2, middle section of the cook here. So the ribs have been on the smoker for about 2.5 hours. You can see we're getting a nice little crust form on there. Yep. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna do the Texas Crutch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take the ribs and I'm gonna wrap them in foil. But before I do that, what I like to do is put a little liquid and some seasoning. You can use sparkling cider, apple juice, apple cider, whatever you have on hand, that's fine. So you're gonna do about a half a cup per rack of ribs. So we're just gonna pour this. I have aluminum foil here. I have 4 sheets. I do 2 sheets per rib. And yep, get ourselves down to about a half a cup. There we go. And then we'll sprinkle about a tablespoon or so of the rub in there. And we'll grab our ribs. And we're gonna put them meat side down into that seasoning and braising liquid. And then here's how you wrap them up. So 2 sheets of foil. You're gonna bring the sides up like so and bring them together like this. And then you're gonna roll that seam created over on top of itself like this. And just keep rolling it down nice and tight, okay? And then we'll take the ends and we'll just do a quick crimp of the end and we'll fold it over. Same thing here, quick crimp and fold it over. And now the ribs will go back on the smoker, meat side down. I'm gonna do the same thing with the next one, but we're not gonna video that. But then these are gonna go for another hour, hour and a half in braise, and it's gonna help soften the meat, break down some more of the tissue, help the ribs get more tender and more flavorful. Kitchen. All right, here we go. This is the end of the ordeal of part 2. So our ribs, we smoked them for about 2.5 hours. Then we crutched them for an hour and a half, which you saw the video previously. They came out of the crutch, put them back on the smoker, hit them with a little bit of dry rub, and let them go for about an hour and 20-ish minutes. You just kind of have to watch it and know. Yep, you just got to learn. You got to know what the trick is. So, but here is our finished product, the grand reveal. And let's go ahead and take this slab here, and we'll just go ahead and throw this over here on the cutting board. And we'll go ahead and slice right through here. Oh yeah, there we go. Look at the bones falling right out. Look at that. And then just look at the meat right there. It's just crying. It's so juicy. Look at that. Just hold on here, Jasper. Let's give the old squeeze test. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Now you know how to make ribs. Do it the right way.